Hello dear viewers and welcome to our English News Edition, the top stories. The Ministry of Economy and Finances presided a high-level meeting on improving the business climate yesterday. And on the international news concerning the Syrian filed Moscow warns of war. And before giving you more details on our major stories, we are opening our news with this official statement of the presidency, following the threats made by the DP World in a press release concerning the investment in port infrastructure in our country. First, the Republic of Djibouti wishes to recall that it did not breach the obligations of the contract that bound DP World to the former container terminal of Duale. The contract stipulates in Article 17 that either party may unilaterally withdraw from the contract. In the second time, the Republic of Djibouti found that this contract was against the general interest. The termination of the contract leads to its redefinition in an administrative contract. On the third point, the Republic of Djibouti wishes to reassure investors by recalling that the state of Djibouti is already developing public or private partnership, the construction of major port infrastructure such as the port of Tujura, the port of Gubat and the DMP. And finally, the Republic of Djibouti reiterates its determination to work with both public and private investors who wish to invest throughout the national territory, ensuring a legal security in accordance with the text in force. End of statement. The Minister of Economy and Finances responsible for industry, Ilyas Moussadouali, provided yesterday morning at the People's Palace a high-level meeting on improving the business climate. The representative of the World Bank, Mr. Atusek, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Investment, Mr. Abdi Ilmi, took part in this meeting. Instructions in this effect were given by the head of state during the last meetings held at the presidency on this theme of improving the business climate in order to be better classified by the control agency doing business. In this regard, the minister announced the arrival next week of an evaluation mission of the agency. And the Minister of Economy and Finances, Ilyas Moussadouali, said in his speech, the will of the head of state is to see the various ministerial departments and services concerned to work in perfect harmony in consultation. Along with a strong delegation, the Minister of Transport, Mohammed Abdul Qadir, including his colleague of the decentralization, Hamadou Mohammed Aramis, the Director of Studies of the Djiboutian Roads Agency, and representative of the Chinese company China First, visited yesterday the Tujura region, more precisely the sub-prefecture of Rwanda. A working visit focusing mainly on the findings of degradation of the state of road caused by the floods of Wadi during the rainy periods. To this end, the Chinese company, having already rehabilitated the Italian bridge, will start very soon a hydrological study in order to be able to find adequate solutions such as the preventive measures in the affected areas by the floods of Wadi. In his intervention, the Minister of Equipment and Transport recalled that the objective of this visit is to prevent damage that can cause the flood of Wadi all along the road to Rwanda. Continuing with the national news, the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Culture, Mumin Hassan Barre, received an audience on Osman Aden Toba, Deputy Minister of Works and Religious Affairs in Somalia, along by his technical advisor, Dr. Muhammad Ali, and his Secretary General, Mr. Umar Farouk. The Minister welcomed the visit of the Somali Deputy Minister, reviewing the excellent relations between the two sister countries regarding the cooperation in the field of religion. The two ministers agreed to further strengthen the cooperation and consultation between the two departments in the areas related to dissemination of the culture of peace, understanding, moderation and dialogue, which are essential values advocated by our Islamic religion. And as for the fight against extremism and terrorism, both sides expressed their willingness to work together for the creation of a regional center to deal with the phenomenon of violent extremism in the Horn of Africa and to strengthen security and stability throughout the sub-region. A vast information and awareness campaign for the students in the 9th grade took place from Tuesday 3rd to Thursday 12th April yesterday. In fact, 6 committees made up of guidance counselors and executives went to the middle schools of the capital in the regions of the interior to inform students about the final year exam called BEF. The objective is to give students the maximum amount of information needed to make a choice between general education or technical and vocational education. Moreover, vocational training being a national priority, this tour aimed at enhancing the value of technical and vocational education. Improving the quality of vocational training will help to prepare our young people for employment opportunities offered by the labor market, which are increasingly diversified in view of the country's economic development, increasingly demanding. And now moving on to the interior regions. In this press release, the prefect of the Dakhil region informs that several wadis are in flood and the circulation is difficult on the national road between Djibouti and Kalafi. Heavy rains have fell on the region of the Dakhil this morning and on its peripheries, Mulud, Sabir, Korabus, Bandara and Daudaya. And these rains did not cause significant damage with the exception of an Ethiopian truck overturned by the floods of Wadi at Mulud, where the RN1 crosses the Wadi. For this purpose, the prefect of the Dakhil region communicates that the traffic on the corridor was blocked since this morning on 2 points, namely Wadi of Grabus and Wadi of Mulud, which were in strong floods. The prefect of the Dakhil also asked drivers of trucks and vehicles to double vigilance. The parliamentarians of the Dakhil region, with the support of the local administration officials and the heads of various decentralized departments, paid a visit to the high schools of the region in order to encourage them, the final year or 12th grade students, as well as to collect their grievances and difficulties they face during their stay in Djibouti City for the baccalaureate exams. This initiative also aims to improve the success rate of young candidates in the region and thus contribute to local development in education, and have participated in this meeting the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunis, and the Deputy Prefect, Mr. Fuad Abubakar. At the end of this meeting, the elected representative and the various officials of the region have testified their commitments to mobilize all the necessary means to meet the maximum grievances and especially the difficulties relating to accommodation, transport and catering. Under the auspices of the prefect of Obok, the Al-Rahma complex for development organized yesterday the closing ceremony of the school activities. The ceremony was chaired by the Obok Deputy Prefect Amin Shamsan, the director of Al-Rahma Hamdi Rajab, in the presence of the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Muhammad Ismail Ahmed, and his deputy, Mr. Ahmed Ali, the deputy of the region, Mr. Abdi Kamil Muhammad, the delegate of the presidency, Mr. Burhan Ali Muhammad, as well as various heads of police and gendarmes corps. The ceremony included several activities such as songs and popular games presented by the students of the Al-Rahma complex. Then on the occasion of this ceremony, the different students received the diploma awarded by the senior officials of the region, including the Deputy Prefect, the President of the Regional Council, the Deputy of the region, and the Director of the Obok Al-Rahma complex. And let's recall that this complex, dedicated to orphans and vulnerable children, was built by the late donor Aisha bin Abdullah of the state of Kuwait. As part of the book caravan by the Al-Fawza Association went to Obok to distribute books and computer equipment for Obok middle and high school students. This donation will strengthen the capacity of the high school library. This collection of books assigned by the association Al-Fawza aims to improve the knowledge of students, to diversify the educational tools of the learners, and especially to instill the love of reading in the youth. And thus the officials took turns to express their gratitude and sincere thanks to the association Al-Fawza for the supply of books and computer equipment. And in Tajora, at the end of multi-sports day for the purpose sports and cultural activities were organized. All the best students who have a score of both 16 and general average were awarded with the honor rolls awards. The final of the activities took place in the synthetic field of Tajora. The presentation of the trophies for the winners took place in the presence of the Deputy Prefect, Mr. Habib Jilani, the Vice President of the Regional Council, Abdul Qadir Umar, and the head of the Menfab Regional Service. And to close up the national news, the Farah Qayat family is actively looking for Mr. Suleiman Farah Qayat, missing since Wednesday, April 11, 2018. Living in Balbala, Sheikh Musa, Suleiman Farah left home on Wednesday afternoon and did not return. The family asks anyone who has met Mr. Suleiman Farah to contact the following numbers: 7787 0403 77 62 74 and 35. I repeat, 77 87 04 03 77 62 74 and 35. And on the international news, strikes in Syria, the United States wants to avoid losing control. A year after the first U.S. military operation against the Syrian regime, Westerners threatened to hit the Damascus regime, which denies any responsibility for the use of chemical weapons. U.S. President Donald Trump has reunited his national security team after declaring everything in its opposite almost on Twitter. Officially, no final decision has been made, and the United States continues to consult with its allies. The prospect of a military action led by Donald Trump, supported by friends and probably the United Kingdom, is part of the context of strong tensions with Russia, while relations have already been degraded by the affair of ex-spy Sergei Skripal poisoned in England. And still concerning Syria, in the middle of a diplomatic escalation, Vladimir Putin refuses for the moment of the biting war. Challenged by Donald Trump, the Russian president refrained from talking about Syria on Thursday by visiting a Moscow Space Museum. The day before, he called on the international community to show common sense. And meanwhile, in Syria, Russian soldiers are preparing to enter Duma, the last rebel stronghold of eastern Ghouta, evacuated after a flood of fire of the regime and alleged chemical attack assigned to the regime by Western countries, with Damascus and Moscow allied. Experts from the Organization for the Prohibition of the Chemical Weapons are on their way to Syria. They should get to work on Saturday, it was reported on Tuesday. The United States could finally join the Trans-Pacific Free Trade Agreement, U.S. President Donald Trump said Thursday, after having arrived at the White House, pressed aside the forced agreement reached under the presidency of Barack Obama. The U.S. President has decided to resume discussions with the 11 other signatories to the agreement, including Canada, Japan, and Australia. Trump says in a tweet to already have an agreement with 6 of the 11 signatory countries. For the United States, the trade stakes are high, the Trans-Pacific Treaty being a counterweight to China's growing influence in this region of the world. In the long term, the agreement could cover 40% of world GDP and even a quarter of international trade. And this is it for our latest news. Thank you for joining us on RTD and have a good night.